Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Bucs Bounty. We have a special guest today. KY, what is up, my brother? How you doing
Hey,
today?
man, it's good to see you, Fort. Always good to see you. Spend some time, get to talk some baseball. You can't ask for anything better. Let's get it.
That's the truth. KY, you know I love talking ball with you. And the first thing we're going to talk about today is the young phenom and Konnor Griffin. He just got promoted to Double-A. The last guy even close to his age that got to Double-A was Andrew McCutcheon, but he's the youngest Pirates prospect ever to make it to Double-A at 19 years old and some change. What's your thoughts on this? Obviously, this guy's having a historic year. He's number one in all of baseball when it comes to prospect status. He is a five-tool, if not a six-tool player. And I want to know what you think about this kid because he's special.
Yes, I mean, I think one, you got to get your hats off for the organization, the scouting department for finding a talent like this. Obviously,
Mm-hmm.
it's a big deal. Scouting is such an intricate part to development because it is the beginning. It's the thought process and what it can become. And so, first off, a big congratulations to them as they kind of go through that process of finding and all that work that they do. So starting with that was awesome. I think that being able to see the kid, just the physical nature of him is just huge. I mean, he's a big kid, 6'4". He's already looking like he's 220. He looks like Captain America already, And so it's just nice to see, the organization get him to a place where I always feel like players, they'll let you know when they're ready to be moved in the organization. And then at the end of the day, like I said, from the organization standpoint, the player will let you know and they'll make that move. Going to Double-A at this point, I think is a good move for him. You dominated the league. That's what it came down to. He dominated Bradenton, in the short period of time. He dominated in Greensboro. And all those little key factors that you look at, is he on time with the fastball? All those things. Can he hit the elevated fastball at the top of the zone? I mean, he checked all those boxes, and you can just see, the damage that he was been able to do with his size and speed. So it makes it a really, really not necessarily an easy decision because you always look at the maturity, right? For it, I mean, it's thinking about, can the kid handle these adjustments as he goes through these levels? I joke about it because I'm like, in high school, like I said, you're playing with your same teammates the entire year, and now you get into pro ball, and it's like, hey guys, you have a couple months, and next thing you're on a bus trip headed, north somewhere else, and so these are a lot of adjustments for a young player going through their first full season, but he's handled it well. He's a baseball player. And so I think that's what
No
gets you
doubt.
excited to have a guy like that that's able to get out there, go compete, and then it makes it a little easier for an organization to say, okay, we identify the maturity, the physicality, and most importantly, the production.
And KY, the jump from low A to high A, I don't think people really think much about. People talk about that jump to Double-A. And there's a reason being that usually the best prospects are there, the best pitching is there. He's going to be by far the youngest guy, probably playing against college guys that are 2 years in. What is the biggest thing you're looking at as an evaluator for Konnor Griffin over the next month? It's not a lot of time, but this is a segue going probably into the fall league and a chance to be in the big leagues next year or the next. And I just want to understand from an evaluator standpoint, and you've been in development for a long time, what are you looking to see for him going into Double-A? This is not a hitter-friendly place. This is a very different place to play. It's a huge ballpark. It's a different league. Just explain to the fans what, as an evaluator, they're maybe looking for.
Yeah, I'll go backwards and start with the part that you started, the ballpark itself.
Okay.
The Eastern League is known for good pitching, but the ballpark is 325 down the lines in Altoona, but it's 385 to left center field. With Konnor Griffin being a right-hand hitter, a lot of balls go to die out there, and the ball doesn't carry very well in Altoona either. And it's 405 to center field and 375 to right and 325 down the line. So right field doesn't carry either. So that's one of the things that you immediately think about. A lot of guys that come into that league, they're coming from Greensboro, it's a hitter-friendly park, and then going to Altoona with better pitching, bigger dimensions, and things of that nature. So you have to make sure you don't get mentally frustrated offensively. A lot of times, like when you had success in the past. Then I'll go to the league itself. Double-A, good secondary pitches. You see multiple secondary pitches thrown for strikes. So you'll see those sliders and the curveballs land and the changeups, put in the bottom of the zone, a little more consistent because guys are now developing those secondary pitches a little better. And the two-seamer is probably the big one. When you're an elite player coming out of high school, what you don't see a ton of times is good two-seam fastballs. When you get into pro baseball, that two-seam fastball that has that late movement, that's a big one. Because when you're so talented and you have a hitting talent like Konnor Griffin has, every fastball that you see looks like you can hit it good. But that late movement and that ball down, now all of a sudden you find yourself putting the ball on the ground a little more often than you did in the past, maybe in those other leagues. So I think those are the things that I look for. And then lastly, even most importantly, the swing decisions. I mean, are you able to lock in and get your pitch? Do you understand how to hit, elevated spin, making sure no matter what count it is? Because if you're able to do that, those are my personal big indicators when it comes to run producers. I look for those key things for run producers because a lot of times you're going to get a ton of spin, and you hear guys talk about how much spin is in the game now, which is it's two sides of that. Yes, there's a lot of spin in the game, but are you getting the spin pitches up elevated early in the count, and are you getting your swing off on them? And if you are you advancing that ball forward with a lot of exit? So those are the key things that you start looking for. As he goes through Altoona now and gets into the Eastern League, he'll be challenged with some of those things, and I look forward to watching him compete.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. I'll never forget the first backdoor sinker I saw. I didn't see it until the big leagues. Mike Leake and Porcello threw a backdoor sinker, and I was like, what is that? That's not fair, because you're not used to that late movement and with that command. So, yeah, it's going to be interesting to see kind of how he responds. I'm sure he'll be fine. And with that being said, I want to bring up Roman Anthony of the Boston Red Sox. Just signed a giant deal. I believe it was close to $80 million. And for me and even Steven, we talked about this. This is kind of the trajectory we see. It kind of gives us an idea of what a young prospect with the status that Konnor Griffin has can do in the big leagues. Yes, he went up and struggled a little bit right out of the gate. But KY, you're talking about a guy that's playing on a playoff team. They're pushing to get in the playoffs. He's leading in multiple different ways. He's now hitting 280 with an 835 OPS and 4 homers, 23 RBIs. He's doing it all, plus he plays great defense. And it kind of sounds familiar to a guy that we're talking about, right? He's got speed, he's got power, he's got pedigree, makeup, all of it is there. Now, when do you think this guy can make it to the big leagues? And is this a good comp for you?
Yeah, I think it really is. I mean, like you said, you mentioned the things. I think the physicality would be the word that I really like to use a lot of times, because when it comes to major league ball players, I mean, those big separators, it's a big jump playing 40 games a season, maybe in high school, and then maybe you play some during the summer. But when you play a 162 game schedule and you're deemed to be an everyday player, I mean, you take a lot of pride in getting your games played up to in the 150s. If you're fortunate enough at playing if you're a corner infielder like a first baseman, you can get to 160.
Yeah.
But if you're an everyday outfielder or everyday shortstop, you want to play 150 games a season. That's your goal. I mean, being in that lineup. And so physicality matters. Your awareness. Can you defend at the major league level? Can you get out the routines? Can you make the big plays? Can you do all those things? Those are all the things that the game is calling for you to be. It's not everybody wants to make it to the big leagues. There's no doubt about it. But when you're talking about being the type of player that Konnor Griffin himself wants to be, it's about impacting the major league team, impacting Major League Baseball. And I think that's the kind of stuff. So those are two really good comps. You have an idea of what you can be at the next level, and it's based off of those key criteria. It's all the things. It's the total makeup, like you said, it's the body, it's the contribution to the game itself. It's the awareness, it's the intellect, the baseball knowledge. All these things are what keep you on the field contributing pitch by pitch. It's not just the hit, it's the defense. It's not just the defense, it's the base running. It's the whole package of what you can contribute. And then ultimately, can you make everybody better around you? Those are the elite players, the ones that take it to another level.
There's no doubt about it. And this guy's a winner. And I've been very fortunate to know him since he was 17 years old. But KY, is there a guy that you remember either during your coaching time or during your playing time that put up these type of numbers at 19 years old? I keep thinking, I'm like, I don't know if I know anybody that could be a 20-60 guy that I played with. I mean, yeah, I saw guys with elite defense. I saw guys with elite power. I saw guys with, elite speed, but I never saw it all together. I cannot think of
Yeah.
anybody. So,
Yeah,
you got anybody?
I think, yeah, I don't even, nobody that I played with. Obviously, the one player that comes to mind is Chipper Jones. Obviously, because he was
He's
all of these
okay.
things. Yeah, I mean, he was literally. I mean, you're talking about, all the things that Konnor Griffin, that's Chipper Jones, but Chipper Jones switch it. So I mean,
Yeah.
he was one of those guys that just, like I said, that's probably my closest in my mind, the closest comp. But this kid is more physical than Chipper. I mean, I can tell you right
No
now, at
doubt.
this
No
age,
doubt.
he's way more physical. I mean, in the sense of body, frame, speed. He is that dude. And so, like I said, those are the type of things you really get excited about if you're a Pirates fan. And now, you just hope that he can continue the success and make the adjustments. And sometimes you have to resist the urge and want to keep pushing them, and because you
Yeah.
obviously see what the struggles are, and you want to get excited about something, and so you got to be careful, because the number one thing is always about taking care of that player and putting him in a position to be successful. And I think that's probably the biggest key. I know, when you pass them over, I think about like players and their parents. When they're young like this, their parents are such an intricate part to their growth and development.
Hmm.
And now they step into pro baseball. And I remember going through this with Josh Bell, as he was coming through, and actually flying to Texas to meet with his parents at one point, just to reassure them that, one, I was going to help him working on his first base development as they were transitioning him to the outfield to the infield. But more importantly, to build the trust and understanding that, I have a pedigree in this game, and as much as you love your son, I take that into consideration. And
Yeah.
I want you to feel comfortable with passing him on to maybe the next level of his growth. And so it's the communication we talked about before. I mean, it's so valuable, and those are the type of things that they're all embodied into this process. It's not just Konnor Griffin; it's his family. It's the player development. It's communication. It's these things are the things that continue his growth and give him an opportunity to sustain himself at a high level at the next point.
Incredibly well said. And that's why you're special, KY. Communication is very, I guess, not just kind of important. It's a next tier important. And I feel like one guy that's done that extremely well is Donnie Kelly.
Crushed it. We have reloaded the cannon. He struck him out. W must-watch TV. O'Neal Cruz.
Is this real? Like, this guy is a video game.
Here comes Mr. Schemes. What we saw today has never happened.
It doesn't really compute in my brain.
This one is gone.
I'm excited.
What a comeback for the Pirates. Holy smokes.
I think being a role player, a bench player, being under some of the best managers of all time in Leland has given him opportunity to communicate differently. And I think that's what makes what's happening now on the baseball field maybe easier. And I think about having to talk to Andrew Heaney and say, hey, man, you haven't been pitching well. We've got a lot of young guys that need to have a chance to show what they're capable of. We're going to move you to the bullpen. Is there ever an instance in your career or maybe a manager or someone you looked up to that communicated and articulated those things really well? Because that's not easy. Obviously, Heaney took it in stride and said, yeah, this is what I deserve. I have not pitched well, which is very professional of him. Could have easily kind of spat at him and gotten mad, but he didn't. I think that was very professional of Heaney. But I think that's a gift. I don't think that's something that's just figured out very easily. Can you think of certain guys? I mean, obviously, maybe Leland's one of those guys for you, but maybe some other guys that have been that good, or something that, like you just said with Josh Bell, being able to do that on your own as a developer, as a coach, because I think it's incredible when guys can articulate in a way that's not easy. Like it's never easy to tell someone's bad news, right? But if you
Yes.
can do it in a way that's honest, it's pure, and it has some type of empathy, I really believe that's a gift.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I mean, I'll take it in two separate strides. I think one, going back to your comment about Donnie Kelly, I think Donnie Kelly was a perfect example of benefiting from all the things you said, being that player, being that guy that comes off the bench, being a utility player, being able to work under Jim Leland. Jim Leland, obviously, my first major league manager, but at a different point of his career as well. I was a young player, so I think the communication for me, the one that really stood out more was with Gene Lamont, because I had ran my whole career had taken a different turn. I mean, I was a young player, high prospect coming in, did not get off to a good start. That was under Jim Leland, and then after Jim left, I came back to the Pirates, and Gene Lamont gave me the opportunity. Obviously, I did some things to earn it, but his communication with me was really good. It was, I just want you to go out and he gave me the freedom. I use the word freedom to go out and play the game, with the instincts that I had. But he communicated that with me, and it was huge for my career because it turned into, it didn't matter, whatever it was. He knew I was going to post because I had gained his trust, and that's one of the things that Jim Leland always taught me. It's like that's what a player wants more than anything. I mean, a manager wants more than anything is the ability to be able to trust a player. And so when you have that mentality, this is what I came in through the Pittsburgh Pirates system with. I came in with leaders in that situation like that. I came in with all-star players like Barry Bonds and Bobby Bonilla who influenced me, as I came through the minor leagues differently. They taught me what it looked like to be a run producer. And even though I didn't achieve it early on, it was embedded in me. And so those are the type of things that you look at, that you go, okay, communication is everything. So when you have a Donnie Kelly that's in that position, he understands, the core of how important it is to be on the same page. He'll be out there, he'll take a trip in the outfield, just like Jim Leland used to do during batting practice. And he'll talk to guys just to make sure you keep your head up. And trust me, as you see our lineup, it's like that because you have so many guys that you feel like need a runway right now to try to figure out what's to come for 2026. It's hard to manage that. I mean, it's a very difficult position that he's in. And you like to have those mainstays where you can check a box. This guy's going to be leading off. This guy's going to be your cleanup. You'd like to have the consistency in your lineup. And unfortunately, the Pirates have not positioned themselves to do that as of yet. That's what Donnie Kelly's trying to get to that next level. I know he'll look forward to 2026 and doing that.
There's no question. It's a lot easier when you know you're going to be in the lineup. It's hard kind of getting sifted in and out. And that brings me to the starting staff. We know we have a lot of electricity coming out of the bullpen. Brashton Ashcraft, Mike Burrows, Oviedo. You can go on Bubba Chandler, Barco, all those guys. They could profile as great bullpen arms. They're getting opportunities to start. Not all of them are going to get to start. That's just the reality of it all, right? With Heaney going to the bullpen, we've seen Ashcraft jump in. Burrow's obviously gotten a bunch of starts. Majinski has gotten some starts. I mean, KY, what do you do with all this talent, all this ability to possibly start in a game that, in my opinion, doesn't really treat the starter the same way as it used to, right? We're watching Paul Skeens pitch 6 innings. We're all stoked. Back in the day, it wasn't 8. It was a disappointment. It's a different game. There's a lot of strikeouts. Pitch counts get up really high. Does that shift going into 2026? Because in my opinion, just to the point of the runway with the position players, there's a very short runway with these pitchers as well. We have all the guys I just mentioned are in a uncharted water of sorts when it comes to innings pitched, pitches thrown, ups had. It doesn't matter what stat you look at. Every dude is in an area they've never been outside of Heaney. So going into 2026, a lot of that's not going to change. Doesn't really matter who gets the opportunity or who doesn't. And how do you balance that? I think for me, I'm looking at it as like, if I could have a revolving door of guys that can come in and out of the bullpen, guys that can throw 3 innings and be a Swiss Army knife, it gives me an opportunity to do a lot of great things. And I've always been in the belief of I want the best stuff. I don't really care if you can do this or do that. I want your stuff in the bullpen. And it seems like our starters, even in AAA, you think about Bubba, Barco, these guys have stuff. So they're going to push guys around in the bullpen because of the stuff they have if we're winning. Keyword, if we're winning, because winning changes everything. So, KY, how do you see all this unfolding? There's a lot going on. Bubba's got the most AAA innings right now that any prospect I can find, especially in the top 100. So what does he have to prove? What are we expecting going into next year? Because, besides Mitch Keller and Skeens, all these guys are going to be in this area of wonder, I guess, for me, of like, what's it going to look like at 130 innings? If we do make it to October, are these guys going to be protected? There's a lot of question marks. You've been through a lot of different people in this organization. You've heard a lot of different things. How do you find the balance there? And once again, how do you communicate it?
Well, I think you build healthy competition. What this regime and the past regime have done well is they definitely found pitchers. There's no doubt. You're seeing the beneficiary now of some of that as well from both regimes. And so I think that's definitely the good side. You have a stable of pitching. There's no doubt, and you're creating this healthy competition amongst the ones. You'll never have enough. You hear it all the time. You just won't have enough pitching, right? And so I give an example of Carmen Majinski. Obviously got the opportunity to start earlier in the year. And then ended up going back to the bullpen at some point. Went back to the bullpen, came back, looked a little different. Got an opportunity to get another start. And what he did with that start, for 4 innings, he absolutely just attacked. The velocity was back up just like it was. But you have to have, a pretty good vision and understanding. Carmen understands he wants to be a starting pitcher too. Yeah. So he's going to give that. But is that the long haul? Is that what it's going to look like moving forward? Reality, maybe not. But you don't know. You just know he's competing and he's asked to get outs and he's going to show his best foot. But you can't allow yourself to fall into, oh, well, that's our guy. When you have guys, like you said, like Oviedo, you have, Bubba Chandler sitting there waiting. There, I'm a big component of don't waste your bullets in the AAA. Me too. When it comes to pitching, it's time, bring those arms up when they're ready and they're confident. And so now what happens, you start nitpicking, Bubba Chandler starts from, AAA. Well, Bubba Chandler's been ready to get to the big leagues and he's been showing you. Remember I said the player will let you know. So now you're asking him to go through the mental part of, going out and competing every single day, with his arm at another level when he's reached that criteria or he's thrown a lot of pitches as a prospect in AAA. So at some point you're going to see Bubba Chandler. There's no doubt about it. I feel very strongly in saying, you'll see Bubba Chandler this year, but you don't want to ever put, anything out like that. But it's kind of like, it's one of those things where you just see it. Right. But I also say it like Oviedo. What he's been able to do in his comeback, those are the type of guys that you really get excited about as well. They're big, they're aggressive. The guys that we have now that are out there, we shared earlier, they have a football mentality on the mound and they just attack hitters. And so here's my stuff, here's my good fastball. And they just attack with their good stuff. And so you like to see that. And you want to see continued. And now the details are, like we said before, can you control the running game? Can you minimize, run production? Can multiple runs? Can you limit the crooked numbers? Can you minimize the long ball? Because those are the things that really play a big factor. When you have a lot of young pitching, sometimes you have some inconsistencies with that. So, but I'm super excited to see how we manage these guys as they come up and continue to build on one another's success. And anytime you can get guys around Mitch Keller and Paul Skeens, and you can include the veteran leadership of some of these guys that have stuck around, like Heaney, because he does impact the pitching staff because he's been around for a decade. So these are the type of things that you definitely want your young pitchers kind of coming up and being exposed to, getting a taste of it, and figuring out how to go out and get outs at the major league level.
Yeah, it's invaluable getting guys around each other that are going to compete day to day. I really do believe that. You're talking about that with Konnor Griffin. The fact that, in high school, you're around the same guys all the time. And then you get to pro ball, all of a sudden you're in big league camp, you're getting sent down. Then you go to Bradenton, like, okay, new team, then Greensboro, then you're off to another team. It's kind of wild when you think about it.
No one destroys a baseball like O'Neal Cruz.
That is the hardest hit ball in known Major League history.
Pitchers should consider themselves warned.
And it is gone! There's a Cruz missile!
Log in with your cable provider and stream the Pirates all season long on SNP 360.
Speaking of teams, me and you talk about identity all the time and how important it is. The Brewers have done some things that are unprecedented. They're 15-1 in August. They've been playing incredible baseball for a long stretch of time, whether it's Pat's pancakes that he pulls out of his pocket and eats it. It's just mind-blowing. But why we're bringing this up is for all the fans to understand this is a small market team. This is a team that's in our division, and it's something that we can emulate. I really believe it's a brand of baseball that Donnie is kind of showing at times with glimpses, because it is very hard. To your point, there's a small runway for some of these guys to get opportunities, so they're not going to take the risk that they maybe would take, that the Brewers are taking, where you're going to see Sam Frelick just run wild because he knows he's on the team. Moving forward, even if he struggles for a month, he's probably on the team. A lot of our guys are fighting to see if they're going to be a part of 2026. KY, do you see the same thing I do with the Brewers? Hey, this is a team that we can really emulate. Really strong bullpen, some top-tier starters at the very front, and a lot of cockroaches throughout their lineup with power just kind of inserted here and there. But, they're doing a lot of this right now without their two boppers, right? In Churio and in Hoskins. And Yelich has been dominating. And I just think about Yelich is Brian Reynolds and Yelich, maybe the same. Maybe Cruz is the Yelich that I'm talking about. But we have an opportunity to be just like this team. They're 23rd in payroll. And that's not too far ahead of us, right? I think we're 25th or 26th. So we're right there. What's it going to take? And is it all about identity? And that starts at the very beginning of the season, because it seems like Pat Murphy is a gift when it comes to
he's
helping figure that out, right?
Yeah, 100%.
So take it away. Wherever you want to go. I get blown away with this one.
It definitely is. Obviously, I got to call the game in Milwaukee when they were on that hot streak. And I'm a big Pat Murphy fan anyway, just because I know the man. And being at Arizona State even back then, just getting a chance to know who he was, how he manages, how he coaches. He coaches men, so very similar in that sense. So we have Donnie Kelly, who believes in that same concept. I think the difference is, and I know I've talked to a couple of those guys and a couple of the coaches over there, Jason Lane and Ricky Weeks, and I know a couple of those guys. Well, one of the things that they both shared is just the freedom that they have. When the game starts, they have freedom, and I think it's not to get away from analytics or anything like that, but they understand that a big part of it is players drive this whole thing. At the end of the day, players drive it. Their work ethic, their effort level, all those things are driven by the players. And analytics has a place in baseball, but it's as a support system. That's been my biggest takeaway with it. So often we get so bogged down with analytics that it becomes a leader of something, and it's never a leader. It's always a support system. And it's, that's why I always credit, when it comes to baseball, we're as players, we understand, and coaches, we understand how hard this game is. And so we're always welcoming other things into the game because we know how hard the game is. And that's the gift. It's the gift. It's the inclusion of it. So that's why when I make the comment, analytics is there as a support system. It's there to help support. But I don't believe it's there to lead. And I think that Brewers do a good job when that game starts, as much numbers and much, all the measurements and all the stuff comes, these guys understand they go out and let the game to play with freedom. They make the decisions based off of sometimes a gut, sometimes they make it off of other things, but the players are dictating as that game goes on, one pitch at a time. And that's something that's a blueprint for a lot of us to learn if we want to get over the hump. I think we're all can fall to our strengths, So if I are the old school concept and you just think about old school, you're going to get left behind because the game's changing constantly. And if you're an analytics guy and everything's about numbers and measurements or whatever your strength is, movements or whatever, you're going to get left behind. It's the inclusion of the game that what makes a better product for the fan base and really sustainability. And so I think that's probably the one thing, the big takeaway when you watch the Brewers play. They, like you said, they beat you with speed. They beat you with defense. They beat you with pitching. They beat you with power. I mean, they have a hitter's ballpark. So they have all those guys, they can beat you in a lot of different ways. And it's really fun to watch that brand of baseball, if you will, regardless if you're, a fan of the opposing team or if you're obviously a Brewers fan. I mean, they definitely love it. So I think it is a model that again, we can look at. And, you look at some of the personnel that we've had, it goes back to, are we able to give the guys a decent look so we can see them develop at the level and know what they're going to be moving forward? We have players like that. Do we need to retain other players, whether it be through, transactions, trades, free agency? Yeah, possibly to fill the void. But the one thing that we have that the Brewers don't have, I believe, is, that pitching. So it kind of helps you say, we go straight for our offense in our lineup, in our configuration of our offensive lineup. That gives you kind of the idea of what that next level should look like if you're trying to compete within your division.
You use the word that I love when you bring it up, and I love when it's used on a baseball field, is freedom, because, it's completely different when you're playing with freedom, when you're coaching with freedom. And I do feel like that's a huge separator. And I think we're going to see more of that moving forward. And speaking of freedom, it seems like Callan Moss, someone reacquired in the Falter trade from Kansas City, kind of the throw in, I think, for most people. But as soon as I saw this kid, I'm like, dude's hit everywhere. And I'm talking everywhere. High school, hit. College, freshman year, all the way through, he hit. He went to the Appalachian League, which is a step down from the Cape Cod League in college. He's the player of the year. And then last year, he hit, and he is a run producer. And why I bring him up, KY, is he's a big, burly man that's right-handed. He hits for power, and he plays first base, just like somebody that's on this podcast. What do you think about this kid? And it's not easy. I know we've both been in this game a long time. We've seen trades. We've been traded. You start with that new team. A lot of times it doesn't go maybe perfect like it has for him. But he walked over, and he's been player of the week. He's first guy to 70-plus RBIs in high A this year, and he just continues to hit. I mean, the numbers are real. What do you think about this kid? And this is a maybe possible diamond in the rough that we didn't think about.
Yeah, I think I don't know a ton about him, but I can tell you, what I do know is that when it comes down to it, you're talking numbers. About, I know, the numbers are so good, but when you're evaluating guys like this, it's always best to focus on one thing in particular. He's a run producer, so swing decisions. Obviously, those are going to be the big thing. Are you able to hit the ball hard? Not that's necessarily end zone, but are you able to hit the ball hard that you swing at? Because run producers need to do that. That's how they produce runs. The other part of it is, where do you see, the growth as he goes to that next level? Is there going to be some struggles or of that nature? Is he going to continue that same process based on what you've been seeing? So the swing decisions, the run production, does it carry on and play at the next level? And then, as we said before, the beauty of now looking at the game, when I started getting into player development before, I got out, it was more about, we had 8 guys in the lineup in the National League. That DH, plays a role too. And so when you have a DH that can actually, do some things and shrink your big ballpark, if he can shrink the ballpark, here at PNC Park, that's going to be huge. So having, gap to gap power, balls that, that would backspin and carry to lead the ballpark in that area, both left center and right center, I think that will play a big part of it. And so, but it all depends on the player's growth and his ability to understand how to impact. And, I can't say enough about defensively, because anytime I'm, super partial to guys that play really good defense at this major league level, as we talked about before, because you have such a quality pitching staff. You're going to pitch really good. You have to defend really good. And
No
I
doubt.
do believe that obviously shortstop and third baseman obviously are, they're good positions. First baseman, you got to finish it with the period over there. Every once in a while you might need an exclamation point, but you definitely got to finish everything over there. So we'll see how he continues to grow.
I absolutely love it. So we're going to move on to a little bit of fun now, KY. So I did this with Capper. We did an all-teammate team. And we'll just go position by position. We'll start with catcher. I'll throw out my guy, and then I want to hear who yours is. And we'll leave it up to the fans on who wins. I'm just saying I crushed Cappy. But I think you probably did a little bit extra research, and you're probably pretty ready for me since you knew this was coming.
Well,
so my two catchers are Molina and Martin. So
okay.
I got
That's really, really good.
And Russell Martin. Yeah, they're okay. I mean, we're talking about 90 WAR between the two, so that's okay, I guess. What you got for them? Who are your catchers?
Well, I mean, obviously, see, I'm going to go. So you pick two. So obviously, the ones that I played. The beauty of this, when we do this, is I literally played for the Pirates my entire career, except for the 1 year in Kansas City. So obviously, all the fans are going to already know and be familiar with mine. So they're going to really enjoy my picks. I know Jason Kendall is definitely going to be one of those guys. I can tell you right now, I almost want them to put my list up because it's different than your list. I would like to see us just put my entire list up in a graphic.
Oh, you did it.
It's a miracle. Nick is the man. So here, check this out.
Walk me through it, my friend. Walk me through it.
All right, so here we go. I actually went with a lineup, if you will, and I really took all the years that these guys were in their prime. These are all the teammates that I had throughout the course of my career here in Pittsburgh, and I took their prime years. And then obviously Kenny Lofton would be the ultimate leadoff guy in center field. And you look at the numbers that he was able to put up, in those prime years, the best years that he's had. Jason Kendall will be my two-hole guy for sure because he handled the barrel. He could do anything he want. Brian Giles will hit third.
12 runs?
Oh gosh, yes. So I'm bringing the thunder to you today for it. I'm bringing it. And then you can't. And now that we have the DH, guess what? Even though I had a Gold Glover in left field, I moved him to DH.
Bro,
so I got Barry Bonds.
No.
So and honestly, I mean, with Barry Bonds, because that some guy's going to try to pitch around him. Why not go with Aramis Ramirez behind him? He's one of the guys I helped grow as an RBI and run producer when he got to Pittsburgh. I put him there. I had to put myself in there somewhere, I felt like. So I'll hit behind Ramby. So, Jose Guillen, I mean, an unbelievable talent. You see what he was able to do. Then here we go. This is a fun one because I went back and forth. I know both Tony Womack and Jay Bell are pretty good. We still stay in contact. But I put Tony Womack down in an 8-hole so he can actually be another leadoff man. And now Jay Bell, who hit 2-hole for us all year in Pittsburgh all the time, because he controlled the barrel. That's your 2-hole hitter hitting in the 9th spot.
8 homers.
Yeah, these are all the prime years of these guys when they had in my opinion, their best years. But then now, and I'm gonna go to the pitching now because this is where it got really good for me. I think about it and I was like, you know what, man, we had some good pitchers that I played with, for a period of time. But look at it, Doug Drabeck, Cy Young Award winner. You got Candyman and what he was able to do. People forget that Candy and I played together.
I literally forgot you guys played together. That's why. Man played for a long
Smiley
time.
And exactly, John Smiley and what he was able to do. And then one of my favorites and my good teammates and the rest of the soul is Tim Wakefield, obviously. Wake, what he was able to do at the time that he was just phenomenal in the longevity that he had. Danny Jackson, a lot of baseball people may remember him back in the day, another lefty. And then for a closer, I went with Mike Williams, who was dominant. He was the one guy a lot of people don't remember, but he threw a slider and it was like he threw a cue ball because you couldn't see the seams at all. And you get so many, it was almost like you knew like a cutter was coming or something, but the slider you never saw you never saw the seams. And it was one of those guys and he got more saves that you'd ever could believe, and all of it was throwing 90% sliders, literally 90% sliders. So that's my all KY lineup team at their prime, and I think we can do some work with that one.
Yeah, you'd be okay. I think I may have you on the starting pitching. The
oh
lineup,
gosh, yes. So
I'm not sure.
The
starting
funny
pitching,
thing,
I may got you.
So no doubt about it. But the best part about when I was doing it, when I started laughing because I'm like, if you look at that list of pitchers, it's like I realized where our downfall was for that period of time in my career. We had no starting pitching. Like you look at all those guys, all of them had left. By the time we actually went through the mid 90s, all of them were gone. And so I was like, oh yeah, that's why we didn't do as well. It's like we didn't have any starting pitching.
Yeah. Man, I'm kind of mind boggled. I love that you put up their best year. And I may have to get a graphic made for myself because I feel like you win just by kind of throwing out the dynamite on top of me. Oh, wait. I did. Have it.
Yes. Oh, that's dirty.
That's dirty. I tell you what, though, I really think when you look at because I didn't realize how good Giles was until I really started looking into it. I was like, golly, that guy was not just good. He was great. Right now, as it stands, he's a better player all around than Andrew McCutchen by the numbers.
Yeah, it's crazy. He was. Yeah,
it's crazy.
No, it is crazy. And like I said, I think overall, it is. Andrew McCutchen would have been a great teammate if I would have been able to, to play with a guy like that. But when I think about Brian Giles, he was a really good defender. Obviously, Barry Bonds is the best, left fielder that we've had in the history of the Pirates.
Just having him in your lineup is crazy.
Yeah, but like I said, it came down to it. It was like initially I had Brian Giles moved over to right field, and I'm like, you know what? I have a DH. I'm like, why not use Barry as a DH? So I said I had to throw you the curveball in there. Nick, thanks for helping me out with that one because I'm like I didn't want you to know because I didn't want you to know in advance. I wanted to sneak that in there on you and get that lineup in there.
Dude, I'm gonna have to do a little research because when you put their best years together, it's hard to tell who would have won, who would have not. Obviously, like I said, the pitching is different, but I think your lineup's better if you put together their best year.
And your lineup is amazing.
But you put
your lineup
Tulowitzki and
is
Jay Bell together. Tulo never hit 38 homers.
Yeah. So that's what I said. If you, it makes it fun though, right? I appreciate the challenge. It made it fun, but I had to find a way to. I had to throw a little wrinkle in there because I wasn't going to be able to compete with you any other way.
Well, yeah, because you played most of your career in the same spot. I got to move around a little bit, so I get to catch a lot of different dudes. But yeah, that's awesome. KY, I appreciate you, brother. This was fun. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, you're the best, bro. I love the energy always. And like I said, I love talking baseball with you. It's been a good day. Good day.
It really has. And I will tell you right now, your team dominates, Cappy. Dominates. Sorry, Matt Caps. You lose again, my friend. Thank you for watching Bucs Bounty. Please like, subscribe. You can find this on YouTube or anywhere you get your podcast. KY, has been a blast. Bucco fans, we will be back next week. Thank you very much. See you later.